I love it. I love it. I just want to say, yes, yes. Oh, looking now. Hell yeah. I know my dogs are watching. And if you ain't, I know you will be. And if you are watching and you ain't my dog yet, you will be. Because my name is Swede, and I'm going to help you get busy living. Thanks for joining us on the Get Busy Living Project 55. Check out my new headband with my Get Busy Living logo up there. Don't mind me if it keeps riding up my forehead, but it's new gear, and you guys want to get you some eventually. But hey, listen, we've got 55 months we're doing. We're on month 5, January. We started out in Erie, PA, our hometown, and broadcasted from a very special place in that we had a guest that has become the object of our affection here at the Get Busy Living Project and the Help Swede Walk Again. So we're going to talk about my boy Schaefer later. We're going to talk about Veganuary. But first, allow me to bring to the stage the one and only dazzling Diana D-Rex Eckstein. I'm sitting differently in my chair, and I don't have my wind.
You lost your wind?
Yeah, because I don't have stomach muscles, man. So if I'm not positioned right and my belly hangs down, it pulls my diaphragm down away from my lungs and pulls the wind out of my lungs.
So just another reason to continue with this Veganuary.
Veganuary.
We will be talking about that later on because we have so much to talk about. Thank you once again for having me here. I always enjoy being here, and I see there's some people here, and so you better say hello in the comments so we know who you are because we want to see, okay? And we want you to join the conversation. All right, so you might have seen the title.
I was going to say. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's all. I was going to say you might have noticed the title. Now you.
Well, no, I was going to say, encourage. Hey, Ray, what's up, dog? I was going to encourage everybody that I know that we got viewers from different platforms. And so I want to encourage all of you guys to chime in because we're here for you, man. Ray, what's up, bro? I don't know, Diana, if you ever met Ray. Ray's from Erie. In fact, when I was hanging out with my first crew of friends, my first time back in Erie, I asked about him. And it was funny to me because of all the people that had filled up that bar to come say hello to me, I knew Ray before I met any of those people. And so I was glad that I got a chance to hang out with him. We went and had lunch before I got out of town, man. It was good to catch up with Ray. How you doing, bro? Hey, Lori, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in. Can I get a hell yeah? So it was cool also hanging out with Lori while I was back in Erie. The podcast with Schaefer was definitely my favorite one that we've done so far for me personally, other than the fact that you weren't there, obviously, which definitely took a lot of the sparkle away. Dazzling.
I'm sorry. I was busy being very sick.
Very sick. What up? We got the Bizzy is in the house. What it do, Busy Burns?
Nice. Hello. So yeah, you were mentioning that the last one was from our hometown, our mothership. For me today, so I'm not gonna.
That was interesting. Did you do that on purpose?
It just wasn't working. I don't even know what I did. I don't even know what I did. But yes, I also was in Erie, but I was not able to join you. I was so ill. It was not COVID, but it was kind of like the flu, and I couldn't be around anybody. So unfortunately, my trip to Erie wasn't as good. But why don't you go ahead and tell us about yours?
Man, I'll tell you what. The most significant thing is shout out to Bizzy. Hey, Bizzy, my man, you came through. Seriously, this dude did everything and then some, from scraping the ice off my windshield. I mean, seriously, man, I probably would be frozen or
I did
still.
not think about that.
Yeah, yeah. Biz came through hard, man. He showed up day one, and he was with me just about all on the way. We went to the Steelers game in Pittsburgh, the 55th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception. What was crazy about that, a couple days beforehand, I wake up and me and Biz just hung out, and I'm like, Biz, you hear about what happened? Franco Harris died. R.I.P. Franco.
Very weird. Yeah.
Right? Like 4 days before his big day. The 50th anniversary of the most significant thing he'd ever done. It was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, some people get robbed of their glory and their recognition that way.
You know, not that I was premeditating talking about Franco Harris, but here's what I got to say this, man. Something that really caught my attention is that obviously he was heavy in the media during the week leading up to, you know, this. Well, it's been heavy in the media this whole year because of it, but like leading up to that week, he was heavy in the media. And one of the things that caught my attention was how they said that, you know, first of all, he stayed in Pittsburgh. Like his last year of in the league, he actually played for Seattle, but he's lived in Pittsburgh and he's been in Pittsburgh since he was a rookie, 1972, 50 years. And they said that every single day, every person that ever came up to him, he was always cool with them. He never shunned anybody, he never stiff-armed anybody, he never like juked anybody, and they said that imagine being him, having this reputation for always being a nice guy and easy to talk to and like a warm, glowing personality. And every single day, somebody asked him to talk about the Immaculate Reception. And never once. Like, think of how many rock stars that have bitched and moaned that they had to play their hit song again.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
This dude has been in that city, a small community. Pittsburgh as well as anybody.
Yeah.
That's a community. And
the people are friendly too. So I'm sure that everybody talked to him wherever he went.
Imagine it. He probably couldn't take a shit without people asking him to talk about the catch, and the fact that he had such a reputation for being so welcoming no matter what really stuck out to me, man. Like, what a great way to be remembered.
That is awesome because it's easy to do. Days you're not feeling right. And even the slightest annoyance that you watch, and to always be on like that is a special gift.
Yeah, I check out my sister. Hey, what's up, girl? Oh, did you get that, D? My sister Kelly. So right after that, right after me and Biz, I got some footage of Biz putting my boots on before the game. You should have seen Kiro brought me a bunch of layers. Tasha bought me some layers, and Kiro brought me a big bear coat, and I had layer after layer after layer. I was layered. I could have been to the Arctic. I could have been. And the Biz is like we're in the parking garage and it's cold as hell out there. And Biz is like trying to get this boot on me. Hero brought these big ass hunting boots. And like, seriously, I bet BIZ, tell us in the comments, how long did it take you to get them boots on? That's hilarious. But then what we didn't think about.
Those are some good friends right there.
No doubt. But what we didn't think about was, first of all, my battery didn't charge properly, and I've since got a new charger, Biz, just so you know, it was the charger. I since got a new charger, but my battery was dead enough to make the chair malfunction in the cold. And then to make matters worse, first of all, it was like one of the coldest games in the history of Pittsburgh. And
yeah, that was cold.
We were up on, not that we were on the top level, but we weren't down in the premium seats, And it was a nice breeze up there. It was cold as hell. What we did not think about, so that I have
47 minutes.
I'm sorry?
47 minutes.
That's
how long it took to get the boots on.
So with my condition, I obviously can't control my functions, and so I have what's called a suprapubic catheter and a urine bag that's separate from me. So my body is pretty much always peeing, Yeah. And what we anticipate was my bag of hot urine froze. in the first quarter at the game.
There's a memory. There's a memory moment.
Hot frozen urine. Get your hot frozen urine. No, but seriously, then that was so cool, man. That was such an epic experience, and being a part of it, and having everybody there, and knowing that, like, it just felt like Franco was watching over everybody. Like, there was just something about it. Like, everybody had this vibe about them where, it was kind of like, we kept on saying that it was like we were going to Franco's wake. It wasn't somber at all. Everybody was fired up. And then after the game, Kiro and Bizzy had family obligations for Christmas, so we zoomed on back to Erie, had them back in Erie for Christmas morning, and then I went and hung out with my sisters. And so it's good to see Kelly here. Thank you, sis, for taking care of me. It's like I had this long journey from Arizona all the way over, and I kept making pit stops, and made a pit stop with my sister, which is really cool. And got to hang out with Holly and my sister Kelly for a couple of days in my grandfather's house where my sister lives. And that was really cool to kind of feel, his vibe. And then after that, then we went into Erie, or I came back into Erie, and man, I was really looking forward to like celebrating Erie with you, and so when you were under the weather, man, I was honestly pretty bummed. I don't doubt you, D-Rex. I know that you're a soldier all the way, so I know how sick you must have been to have missed it. But man, it would have been really cool to just kind of cruise around Presque Isle or something with you.
I know.
Or even back down.
I was on this podcast when I had COVID. I didn't know I had COVID, but like, that's how much I want to be here,
Yeah, exactly.
And to actually be in Erie with you and not be able to see you was a big bummer, but what can you do?
Yeah. Well, that just goes to show, that's just one example of how many times, that we've been doing this podcast, not just for a couple months, that we just had to roll with the punches, and the fact that,
I mean, look at the title, Getting Busy, Letting Go. It's like, sometimes you got to let go of the situation.
Yeah.
You got to let the situation just ride, right? You just have to surf it.
What brought that up is the fact that, both of us, which to me, getting to kick it with you once a week for an hour in front of people is just a snapshot of, we have also all kinds of great conversations on a regular basis. And so this is inviting people to come join us for what I like to say is sharing our viewpoints. Like you bring out interesting viewpoints for me, and that's why I enjoy chatting with you. But like, it takes a lot of work to put all of this stuff together behind it all, and this is just a small portion of what both of us have as very, complicated and action-packed, full of adventure lives. You think because I'm in a wheelchair that I'm not busy, man. I've never been busier, and trying to
guy I know.
And we were talking about, what do you do when you've got this priority list that has so many things on that are of high priority, and what caught my attention was, you're like, there have been things that I've wanted to get done that just never made their way to number one on the priority list. And eventually I just had to not do it and just let it go and be okay with it and move on to the next big thing. And it's not like a major loss, we're not letting go of the podcast, but sometimes there are certain battles that you just have to know, when to just let it be,
Yeah. To know what sort of things you get away with just cutting free, because there are some things that you cannot cut free, like taxes or end of the year upkeep in your business, but you have to definitely do those. Matter of prioritizing and of some things you can't control. And speaking of some things you can control, when I did get sick in Erie, sick the whole time, and I was still recuperating at the beginning of January. And oh, by the way, when we were starting this, let's see if it play. Actually, nothing's playing today. Stop it. Somebody stop it.
So what was going on? I thought you had a stroke.
It just-
I thought you were leaning on the space bar.
It wouldn't stop.
Well, I'm glad you're okay. Thanks. Welcome back, T-Rex.
Please stop it. Please stop this video. Okay, I'm not playing anything else today because it either won't play or it won't stop.
That makes me wonder. Hey guys, so I'm having some issues hearing you. So can one of you guys, Lori, Steve, Biz, Kelly, look, we got an SV. Okay, who's SV? They're like Thunderbird. That's somebody knows about my car. You remember that squeaky Thunderbird?
Let me disappear and try to reset. I'll be back.
Okay, so is it me? Is it my connection? Can you guys let us know? Does she sound okay to you? Because it's breaking up on my end. And do I sound okay to you? So am I breaking up on your end? Because it's been hard for me to understand what she was saying. And I've checked my internet speeds and everything looks good over on my end. So it's a mystery. No, it's not a thunder chicken. It was a Thunderbird. Bizzy, did you ever go on Thunderbird with me? Of course you did, man. I remember. Oh, that reminds me. We were Tasha just showed up, and I was telling her about jumping the tracks. And we were at Otis 12, and Ray Sean starts telling a story about my crazy ass driving down Cherry Street 80 miles an hour, heading down towards the 19th Street tracks. I could have swore that was Mez in the car with me. So when I was telling Tasha about it, I was telling her that was Mez in the car. But Ray Sean comes up and starts telling her the story about crazy ass teenage Swede driving like a maniac. So I hit those tracks, man, and the car just was airborne. And once I hit the ground, the bottom of the T-Bird bottomed out and bounced. And by the time the red light at 18th and Cherry was red. And if there would have been any traffic coming on 18th Street, man, we would have got smashed, because by the time my car bounced and stopped and came to a stop, I was in the middle of the intersection. Man, it was one thing to dodge the train and make it. It's another thing to jump the tracks like that. But man, if we would have died at the intersection after dodging the train and jumping like that, that would have been the irony of the decade. But it looks like we lost T-Rex. I wonder if it turned out to be an issue with her stuff after all. But what we were talking about is really important, man. If you guys looked at the title of this week's show, and I know that we don't always stick really rigidly to what the title of the show is, but we are trying to create a mindset here with the Get Busy Living podcast about what it takes to get busy living. Well, spoke. Welcome back.
I hope it works. I hope my sound's better.
Yeah, you sound better to me. But I wonder about the replay video.
Let us know. Well, let us know in the comments if I sound bad, and I will try to fix it again. I think it's my connection. Way better, he says. Okay, so thanks, Biz. I don't know what you were just talking about right there. Do you want to continue your thought, or do you want to jump back to where we were?
I was just talking about, well, kind of where we were. Yeah, I was just leading back into letting go, because I think that's really important. Knowing, choosing your battles wisely, and knowing when you've got too much and when to just let some things slide, like you were saying.
Okay, so the thing that I let slide had to do with the 100-mile challenge, and I'm not playing that video again. I hope Chet's watching. He just kept sliding in.
I love it.
You're doing that.
It must have been your connection that was causing it to like falsely press it over and over. Uh-oh.
It's me. It's me. It's my connection.
Okay, yeah, because you froze there for a second again.
Everything was working great all week until right now. So hopefully we can continue. So in the 100-mile challenge, I was still sick at the beginning of January, and I wanted to start right away. I was really excited. I have been excited for months to start this. And I just had to say, this is okay. Don't get out there and walk 5 miles when you're sick. You're just going to push the deadline. This is of course you want to do this in January with everybody else, but, don't make yourself crazy over it. So instead, I started on the 7th or 8th. And I'm going to continue until the 7th or 8th of February. In fact, my birthday is the 9th. So I think that I'm going to get in 100 miles before my birthday.
D-Rex.
So
are you going to be here on the 9th?
Maybe.
The answer is yes.
I didn't think about that.
Just wanted to pull the audience. Hey, guys, is D-Rex going to be here on the 9th? For those of you that don't know, we are going to be going to Flagstaff for the Super Bowl party and a ski trip. The people at High Country Adaptive Sports are going to get me into their fancy ski gear, and I'm going to be able to go skiing. So
this is so exciting. I think so.
That would be wonderful.
I didn't even think about that. I'm so excited.
We're going to have a D-Rex birthday party podcast.
Oh my gosh. This is great.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I didn't even consider that. So yeah, I'm hoping to hit that 100 miles by my birthday.
So
I didn't let it stop me.
I love that. And that brings me to, also my participation. So you guys that tuned in last week saw that it was a rough start back to 2023 for our first episode, other than the Schaefer intro. But I missed my appointment to get my blood drawn last week. And I was talking to Tasha about this. Now, since, and when I first was going to attempt the vegan challenge leading up to Thanksgiving, I went into it saying, no, it was Kelly I was talking about. I went into it saying that when Tasha comes and Melissa comes and we go see D-Rex in LA for month 2, I might have some chicken wings. And so I kind of left the crack of the door open, and when you do that, you just aren't going all in with it. And so this time, and I felt a lot more pressure before because I knew that I had already kind of not, done it correctly, properly. Well, this time going in, I don't feel any pressure at all because I've done this so many times. It's very easy for me to eat like this, So it was challenging before, knowing that I was going into the holidays and I was probably going to, get wet. What's the point of trying to dry out if you know you're just going to get wet again? Why make my bed if I'm going to just mess it again tonight, Dad? Well, so this time coming into the vegan challenge, I know that I'm going to do it because it's not just a 30-day thing for me. For me, really, all it is the beginning of the rest of my life. I intend to be far healthier moving forward because, this 2023, I've got some major plans, and some of them are going to require I to be in good health, especially cardiovascular health, because you can have a belly and you can have, other issues, but if your bloodstream's not working properly, then that just shuts everything else down when it comes to any kind of therapies or procedures that might come my way. So personally, so what I want to do is I want to be able to use the results I get from the blood work. So after I came out of the Thanksgiving, I really wasn't eating terribly after that. But then when I got to Erie, man,
I bet.
You want to talk about delicious food, go to Otis 12 and try to eat vegan there. There's 75 different aromas depending on what flavor wings are passing by, or man, they got
it's hard to eat vegan in Erie. It just is. There's so much pepperoni.
Yeah.
I'm vegetarian and I eat pepperoni in Erie because that's what you do in Erie. You eat pepperoni.
I'm telling you, I have a dysfunctional addiction. Pepperoni, chicken wings, also like pineapple, fresh pineapple, something about that. Those things that make your mouth just zing like that, it does it for me. But what's funny, so speaking of pepperoni, I was telling you, so remember our homie from SV, who I don't know who I wonder who put SV.
Yeah, I'm wondering that too. Who's SV?
Yeah, who are you, SV? Who's the notorious SV that knows about the Thunderbird? But speaking of SV, Marissa Steiner, our classmate, that girl was such a cutie pie. I remember she, and I've been in touch with her. Marissa, I hope you're tuning in someday eventually.
What? She was the cutest. And I think that she ended up being homecoming queen because she was the cutest. She had the biggest hair.
I just remember the beautiful eyes and the little dimple chin.
Well, all
But
the girls know that she had the biggest hair, and like she
oh,
won. She won the
oh,
contest. Like,
hell yeah! Shout out
yeah.
to you, Marissa. Good for you. But her family had a deli around the corner from my house, and if she was working, I was going in there. And I'm going to blame Marissa for me having a pepperoni addiction, because if I knew she was working, I went in, and I had to get something.
Uh-huh.
And so what I remember about the pepperoni balls is and their pepperoni bread. Of course, it's pepperoni bread. Oh my god! So I remember taking a loaf of it on the ski trip that we went on, and
Mm.
just like and everybody after the ski trip we were all in the bus coming home. We're all beat from getting our asses kicked on the ski slopes all day. And I had that pepperoni bread, man, and it made the whole bus smell like pepperoni bread. And I remember being so excited about it. Like when I got done skiing, I was like, I can't wait to go eat that pepperoni bread. And I'm not gonna bullshit you, man. I could eat a whole loaf by myself.
It's
But I went in there, I
delicious.
like had a couple bites, and I was like, here, man, have some. I gave it to whoever's sitting next to me. I don't even remember who I was riding with. But I remember that it became so popular that I ended up giving away the whole damn loaf. I barely got any of it. And I remember being like so upset about my pepperoni bread, but it felt cool that I shared. But I was like, man, I can still smell it. The whole
Yeah.
bus.
You can't be giving up too much of the pepperoni bread because it disappears fast, you know?
Yeah. That reminds me, me and
Oh,
you and Andy
hmm
used to be ski partners.
yes. And in fact, you
And
know what I want to show right now? Here, I want to show this. Let's see if it shows. No good at showing things today. Look at this.
oh,
That is you and Andy. You're knocking her over. This is what you used to do if you don't remember.
I would do
You
that.
skied without poles, and you would just go and tackle her all the time.
Yes.
And
Oh, remember?
3 people can fit on a ski lift, so we were often
That
together.
was it. That was it. And I remember, yes, I've been kamikaze on the slopes. Skiing is the most fun you can have with your clothes on, until I went skydiving, of course. But I
Yeah,
remember
but I gotta
vividly.
agree
I remember
about
vividly when we went
skiing.
skiing. What's that?
Yeah. I said I agree with skiing. Now I will not go skydiving, but I do agree with skiing is some of the most fun you can have. In fact, I looked up the page of the yearbook that our ski club was on, and there was one picture of you, and that was it. I mean, that we saw, and there was one picture of me, and it was this. I don't know if we're going to be able to see this. Let's see. And I don't remember this guy Corey's last name right now. But I guess we're just hanging out in the lodge here, but that's the only picture of me in the ski club. Right there.
Girl, you're so damn pretty. Look at you.
Let's see if I can make
Man,
that face right now.
you're impressed. I remember one time when we were skiing, and we were going down the slope, and you were in front of me, and you ate it hard.
Yeah, I
And
do that.
rolled, and you rolled so far that like it was a long, hearty laugh for me. It wasn't like I just zoomed by you and said ha ha. I was like, ha, 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 ha. You're like, ha, ha. And I remember laughing. And then we were at the bottom of the hill. That's how we were going fast. We're at the bottom of the hill, and I think it was time to stop. And like you ate it. And I skied past you, and I was having so much fun laughing at you. Like turned around as I skied past you. I wasn't paying attention to how close I was to the bottom. I zoomed right through the line, and you like jumped out of the way. I went right into the line and hit that fence at the bottom of the ski slope at Peak and Peak. I hit the wood. I broke the fence and crashed over the other side of the fence into the parking lot. I remember like laying in the parking lot, laughing my ass off. Skis are flowing all over the place. I've got this huge gash in my knee, and you and Andy are standing at the top. Because when the snowplow plows the parking lot, there's this big mound, right?
Yeah.
So after I broke the fence, I went over this mound and tumbled over the other side. And I just remember looking up at you, and I could see the lights from the lifts behind you. and like both of you laughing your asses off at me.
Oh my God. This is what happens when you let trashy people on the slopes.
Man, yeah. It's funny. So you remember when we were in Destin? Do you remember when we went down to Bud and Alley's? And then after we left Bud and Alley's, we went over to hung out with a couple of my other buddies over at the other bar. And remember my boy Santiago?
Yes.
Interesting character. I love that dude. It's my dog. I'm hoping he and Jigga J and Jay Hatcher are gonna come to Flagstaff with us. Hoping, like they said they would, they said they could. I told them they should. It's highly likely. But he loves to tell the story about when I went skiing with those guys. They have an annual trip that Brother Doug has gone with them every single year for, I don't know, I think it's over 10 years now that they've been going. But I went up there with them one year, and Matt got caught at the top of the hill with no poles. I think somebody else lost their poles, and he was going to give them to him, or he did give them to them. And I just remember him being like in his panic state, like he has no poles now. He's like, why did I do that? I don't have any poles, And like, I think he was like noticed that I was skiing without poles, or like it kind of made a big deal out of it, And so I was like, encouraging him. So he like did it, and then he was screwed, and he was like starting to get really scared and freaked out. And I'm like, bro, just go. You can't get hurt. I am proof you cannot get hurt skiing, because I have broken trees and fences. So let's just go. It's all in your head, and I encouraged him to just go. And he loves to tell the story about him being up on the hill with no poles and shitting himself. And then I kind of gave him a little kick in the ass, and he had the balls to do it. And I'm hoping that he comes up here, man. He's a fun guy, and a fun guy to ski with too. He's good. He loves talking about
can we explain to everybody how you're going to ski?
So yes, like I said, High Country Adaptive Sports. Those are the folks. Truman and Carly and folks are the ones that got me up to the Grand Canyon in their bike. And so Truman's the summer coordinator, and Carly's the winter coordinator. And Carly, they have a special set of skis that are attached to a chair. So essentially, I'll be able to go downhill just like, it's kind of, I guess I've seen pictures and videos of it, and it looks kind of like a snowmobile, but it just doesn't have treads. You're just skiing instead of having like any kind of propulsion. But so in the times that I've seen it, they have somebody that's kind of there, kind of towing along, guiding in case you get out of control. But I'm under the impression that once I get the hang of it, I'm going to be able to go.
Oh, I think you're going to go. I think, as soon as you get the hang of that thing, because you were always unstoppable on the slopes. And can I explain to people really quick that somehow us poor kids got into a ski club at school, and we think that it was probably heavily subsidized, because there's no way we would have been affording going skiing every weekend. Yet we ended up skiing every weekend, and it was so fun. And we wore like 3 pairs of jeans because we didn't have ski clothes, and we were just putting on whatever clothes we had in multiple layers. And you'd just be soaked by the end because it was just not proper clothing. We were not proper in any way, especially never you. You're never proper.
It's funny when you mentioned that earlier, that, because I remember vividly putting on multiple pairs of jeans because I didn't have any ski gear. I had to steal some gloves.
You didn't even have gloves. Yeah, Tasha says we're all gonna have to watch out. I agree. Do you realize I haven't been skiing since ski club in high school?
Serious?
Yeah, haven't been skiing once.
That breaks my heart. I've been skiing all over the West Coast, all over the East Coast. I've been skiing in Europe, man.
Oh, okay. Well, I've been cross country skiing, so I don't know. I still have the feel of skis in my body. Like I still have that feel. Like as soon as I get on skis, I'm going to know what to do. But I haven't been downhill skiing since ski club at Strong Vincent.
That blows my mind. That really blows my mind. I want to give a shout out to Darren Thomas. What up, D's?
I almost feel like we got to get Andy Naylor in on this. Like, she needs to
I
come out.
should have reached out to you because I tried to get a hold of her when I was in Pittsburgh. I don't have her, or she doesn't respond to the number that I have, but it's been years
Okay.
since I've had her number. But I tried to get a hold of her when I was in Pittsburgh. I was kind of disappointed that I didn't pull that off.
There's so many people I would love to meet up with in Pittsburgh, and I just haven't gotten down there. Every time I get to Erie, it just gets too crazy, and we just don't get to Pittsburgh. And I think it almost needs to be a separate trip. You know, Pittsburgh is a wonderful city.
Oh, I'm going back there. I don't have the destinations for the Project 55 lined up, but tentatively, I am heavily intending to go to Pittsburgh for training camp this year.
Interesting.
Yeah, for the summer. So you've said yourself on record on this podcast that it's nice up there in the summer. So
yes, it's gorgeous.
I might have to come down to I might have to come to LA and just throw a bag over here and snatch you in the van and do a cross country trip with me this summer.
Oh, I love Pittsburgh.
Lori was saying that Shape's a pepperoni fan too, so
yeah,
that looks like we got some common ground. And no, Steve, SV is somebody. Steve asks, "Is SV me?" Somebody entered the chat room as their name as SV, and
it might have been him.
Thunderbird. That was the car that I used to drive. I don't know who that could have been. But look, we got Pickle Brian Osborne's in the house. What up, my brother?
So you know what? I want to get back to the topic because we've just been chatting it up today.
For real.
So we were talking about like what happens when you get behind on all of your stuff. You get behind, and suddenly you have a mountain of things in front of you, and it feels insurmountable, and you feel paralyzed as to where to start. Which is really where I was in December. I had this stack of papers. And every time it fell out of my binder, I was like, like I just wanted to go to sleep. I just wanted to close my eyes and forget it existed because it was all this stuff that really wasn't fun. It was really not fun. It was either like taxes or like just the corporation stuff. Like I have a couple of businesses. It was all business stuff, you know. I couldn't even take the first step of getting it done. But I'm starting to catch up now, and this is important to say is that there's no way of organizing all of the stuff you need to do when it becomes a big mountain in your head. You need to make a to-do list. And I know both of us have had issues with going in and out of the to-do list. But when we have the to-do list, what happens?
Shit gets done.
It gets done. Yeah. Always. The to-do list is like magic, right? But what I found is that there's sometimes where I have the to-do list and it still feels like too much every day. And if I can't do it all, I feel paralyzed again. So what I started doing is making my to-do list super easy. I've been making it like one thing on Monday, one thing on Tuesday. And I've actually been able to start getting ahead of myself again. And there's no way I could have done this with a to-do list that was 1,000,000 miles long or ambitious every day, you know? But I really am starting to catch up now. And I know you have your own ambitions this year, which are giant. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you want to do this year?
Yeah, but first I'm going to say that your theory about, making the list and then boiling it down to making it easy in one thing. So me and Jerry were talking about this earlier today, and he's like, I make a list so that I have all my priorities in front of me, but he's like, I don't look at anything but number one. I just get number one done. And he's like, sometimes I don't feel like doing number one and nothing else gets done. And sometimes I knock number one out and I move on to number two. And sometimes I do number one and I don't feel like doing anything else. And then tomorrow, whatever was number two is now number one. And, he's like, but just one thing, just do one thing at a time.
One thing.
I got to admit that I have made a living out of not writing stuff down. And since my injury, I do not have the same kind of cognitive skills that I used to. I cannot. So I still, I've been using the Freedom Mastery Planner with Melanie last fall, and I fell out of that during the holidays. And
do you want to talk about what that is really quick? Because people might not know what that is.
Absolutely. So it's a book that it's mine looks like a Bible, and all it has is it has spreads in it that have a way of organizing a week and a way of organizing a month, and then it has other brainstorming, another brainstorming spread after each month. And all it does is it's a very well put together way of organizing your tasks and your schedule. Time management. And I've never been one to write things down, but this summer, going into the summer, I knew that with launching the podcast and getting the nonprofit founded and getting my school stuff together, and I had so much that I was not going to be able to accomplish it. And that's my point, is that before I would be able to just have it in my head and I did one thing at a time and I knock stuff out simply.
Mm-hmm.
But with this condition, with constant inconvenience and the distractions of the condition, and then with my whatever cognitive abilities that have faded for me, I'm just not able to keep it together like that. And that's why I felt overwhelmed. And that's where the topic of being able to understand what things you can let go and what things you should not let go is where that came up.
You see this, Ray says, is that like a vision board? You know what? I do want to say something very quickly about a vision board. Vision boards used to be where you would sit down, you would clip things out of magazines, things that you wanted in your life. I don't know, like a trip to Tahiti or a Lamborghini, or like ridiculously huge goals. And you can do this now so easily, like with pictures from the internet, that it's way easier to create vision boards these days. But I think that often people with vision boards is they put these huge goals up there, like a mansion with a pool and this sports car. And, it's like, it feels like just dreaming, like unattainable, big things that you don't even know how to get there. And with vision boards, I think it's better if you instead clip the ways to get there, whether that's things about keeping the proper mindset, or, if your goal is to have a, I don't know, 6-figure business, how do I start a business? You put these things on your vision board, and that helps you get there a little better than just seeing the end and hoping you get there, or wishing, but a vision board that actually where you focus on the steps is much more productive. And yeah, and you're right, Ray. It says my vision board is my list to do. And that's actually the best vision board you can have, is inspired action, taking action.
Well, I've used vision boards in the past, but they not to the point where they've been a key to my success, but I've known a lot of people that swear by them. And for those people that like, I'm always dreaming, like my vision board every day, like I'm always thinking about how good it can be and living in that it's going to be that good mindset. And that's how I stay focused forward, But what I've been finding lately is that I have this big vision board in my head, and I've got all of these, and they're not small things. Like I'm not going to just fade into the past. Like my life, I want things to happen. And so each of these things that are in my mind that I want to accomplish are all complex, but they are all a series of minimal tasks. And I found myself lately getting lost and having those tasks get jumbled in my head, where in the past I was able to keep things in line, like Jerry was talking about, having number one at the top of the list and knocking that thing out. I've been able to do that, but recently I find myself getting easily distracted and then forgetting what I was doing. So that's where I knew going into this. Lyric helped me discover that last year. And so going into this past summer, that's why I hit my girl Melanie up and asked her to help me get things together, which, by the way, guys, if you need somebody to help you in the way that I'm describing, when you have a lot of things you want to accomplish and you're not exactly sure how to pull them off, I highly recommend putting my girl Melanie on your list. She's worth every penny. And she helped me get it done this summer, and I fell away from it during the holidays, and I found myself coming into 2023 very anxious. And when when it dawned on me, and it's funny how life happens where just things that used to be so apparent and right in front of you just kind of lose focus on them. But it dawned on me that I've been feeling these anxieties, and it's because I haven't been using the Freedom Mastery Planner, which is just a planner that helps you write things down so that you
It's a
know what
to-do
to write.
list.
It's exactly what it is. And I'm extremely excited about getting it back to that.
Let's put this email up on the screen. If you want to reach out to us about anything, like you said, hit me up about my girl Melanie. It's like, well, you could also email us here at hello@getbusyliving.com. You can email us about anything. It doesn't have to be like you need help with anything or you need information. You could even just say hi, and we will be in touch with you. It's like we want to build a community here. So I just want to let you know that that's the email right there.
Absolutely. So speaking of that, there's another email that's important, the nomination at the hswa.org. So if you know somebody that you think can benefit from the pursuit of non-traditional therapies, like what we're going to try to help Schaefer with, please get at us at nominations at the hswa.org. So let's talk about Schaefer. So, man, what a full of life guy. I love this dude. He's got such a cool personality. He was checking Mez, and Mez is not an easy guy to check because Mez oozes cool. And so, like, just hanging out with Schaefer, like it was his agenda. He's fearless, and I love the dude's spirit. And so what I did, I spent some time. I've got lined up to meet with the folks that are helping me learn about stem cells and are going to be providing the therapies. But in the meantime, I was looking into stem cell treatments and how effective they are in dealing with cerebral palsy. And just like any other disclaimer you look at, like these are not guaranteed to cure, all that kind of jazz. But I was very optimistic at what I learned about what stem cells can do for cerebral palsy. And cerebral palsy is kind of a vague description of cerebral being your brain and palsy being paralysis. So there's a lot of different things that can cause cerebral palsy, and it presents itself in a lot of different ways and different types of symptoms. But regardless of which one they are, all of the signs are pointing in the right direction. So I'm really excited about that, guys. If you want to be a part of the solution and help us help people, please go to the hswa.org. Reserve a copy of the Life in the Air of Swedism's book. It's $25 to reserve a copy. Once we get 2,000 copies, we're going to get them shipped. We're going to get you guys somebody out of those 2,000 reservations off to Adventurous Alaska. But most importantly, that $25 or more is going to get us the funding that we need to be able to do things like helping Schaefer. And I know that there's going to be another opportunity for us to get with him. And I know that Lori is willing to get back on the podcast with us so that we can hang out with him a little bit more. As we grow and get better at this and get other things lined up, and get the background, the structure behind this podcast handled, and then we can start doing a little bit more advertising and networking. And the target is to be able to have a system in place where people can come to the podcast to see what we're doing. They can go to the website and they can donate, and then we can take those funds and channel them into helping people the way that I've been helped. Ultimately, I want to help someone walk again 10 different times, and hopefully, Schaefer will be just one of many that will be able to get the help. And I know that if we help enough people, that the help for me will come. And eventually. So I saw that you put the Life in the Year of Swedism's book graphic up there. If you don't know, that's just my offering to try to give back for what's been given. When I woke up out of the coma, there was so many donations already had taken place and not a thing had been given. So I wanted to figure out a way to not just ask for donations, but to be able to give back in exchange for those donations. So it wasn't my idea to do the Life in a Year of Swedism's book, but I'm glad it's there. And once we are better prepared to do some advertising, then we're going to really push that a lot harder. Not only do we have the Life in a Year of Swedism's book, not only are we trying to help Schaefer, not only are we trying to throw the huge party, not only are we trying to go on vacation or do epic adventures once a month, not only are we trying to do all of these things, but we both have our own private personal lives that require our attention, So when you feel like you've got ambitious goals and you've got this list, don't be afraid to just know what things can be set aside and go without being done. Like what you were talking about, some tasks that you had let go recently.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, one of them was the start date for the 100-mile challenge. So I didn't let the 100-mile challenge go, but I let the start date go.
Right. Right.
And I think I'm at 73 miles to go right now. I think that if I pushed it, I actually could make it all in January, but I'm not going to get crazy. I just want to get to my 100 miles, you know. I don't want to set myself up for being disappointed. I'm going to succeed at this on a timetable that makes sense. And a month does make sense for 100 miles. That's really pushing it for me. So
Absolutely.
I'm going to let the timetable go, but I'm not going to let the task go. And then speaking of another thing that we were going to do. Oh my gosh, who's that guy with the beard? Nobody.
Yeah, look at this. Look at that. I like that. That's how I rolled for most of my life, was with these like big old shiny cheeks. I think I do like the beard. I decided to take it off just to remind myself what it was like to look younger. But I find myself doing this and I don't have anything to comb, and it's like I don't feel smart anymore.
Oh, you're not smart. Here, let's look at the beard again. Like a hairy mofo in that picture. I don't know what's going on.
So if you guys are interested in participating in the Veganuary, it's all for the benefit of good health. We have a Facebook page. Just look up Get Busy Living Veganuary Challenge. And today is day one for me. I got my blood work done this morning. And what I intend to do is after 30 days, go get another DEXA scan so I can compare what I look like after 30 days of veganism compared to what I looked like back in September before I had done it at all. And then get another blood work. And after that experiment is done, so late February, we'll go back and look at what my blood work looked like today after eating eerie food for the past month. And what it'll look like after 1 month of veganism, and just to give you an idea of, and then we'll go into some interesting facts about what those improvements will look like. So when you see an inflammatory number, or if you see, a triglyceride number, or if you see a glucose number, or all these other different things that are sure to be affected by a vegan diet, we'll just explain to you a little bit about what those things mean to you and what those improvements will mean to me in the long run. If I had continued on with that diet and had those numbers look like that, what would what would I be at risk for? We hope over time the community that we build here will become an educated community when it comes to their health, become an inspired community when it comes to their wealth and it comes to time freedom, and hopefully will be a traveling community. And by the time we get to Project 55, month 55, we'll have a stadium of people with us. That's the goal.
Where are we right now?
So we are in month 5. And
nice.
So month 5, we did Erie. Month 6, next month, we'll be in Flagstaff. So get at us at hello@getbusyliving.com if you guys want to partake. I believe we're pushing about a dozen attendees now.
Oh my goodness.
For month 6. That's going to be the most heavily attended, if you don't consider all the people that hung out with us over Thanksgiving,
crazy.
Or all the people that hung out with us over Christmas. But as far as like traveling to the destination, I think it's going to be the most heavily attended one so far.
Amazing. Well, you know what? I think that's definitely something that's not going to fall off my to-do list. That's going to be so exciting. And I didn't even realize it fell on my birthday until we were on this podcast today. So yes. So let's back up. What was I saying? Okay. So the 100-mile challenge did not, I'm not pushing the task off my list. I just pushed the due date.
Right.
And the other thing was Veganuary, because I started off the beginning of January in Erie, and it's like the worst place to try to be vegan, as you were saying. Pepperoni, everything.
Delicious.
They got like pepperoni cornflakes. Like it's pepperoni all the time, And I was there. And of course, I did have some pepperoni bread, because that's what I do when I'm in Erie. I have some pepperoni bread. But, there's also like a fountain of cheese all the time. And that's the one thing that I was really looking forward to in the vegan challenge, is getting away from cheese for the month, especially after the holidays. The holidays is like cheese overload. And I do love cheese, but I know it's not great for me. So I've been on the vegan challenge probably since like the 4th or the 5th. And I will continue through February 4th or 5th. But I am convinced that this will help me kind of reset and go back to not relying on cheese as heavily, because it's forced me to start cooking more whole foods, cooking from scratch. I've gotten back to real cooking and real seasoning and not relying on cheese.
Isn't it funny that that's how it works? Cheese adds so much flavor. That's very common sentiment that cheese is the hardest thing to give up. And I just stumbled across another article recently about how cheese is notorious for leading to breast cancer and acne and hormone imbalances. Like, it's the biggest culprit for these things that are affecting women in that respect. Hormones are important for men and women. They're the signals for our body. But because they're so prominent with emotional state, which women are more recognized for operating in, that we think that they're more important to women, but they're just as important for men. And the effects of having such a heavy cheese presence in your diet it's gonna mess with your acne. It's gonna mess with your insides. So I hope that after a month of it, that you'll be able to report back to us with some sort of, progress.
Well, I can tell you that when I do eat something with cheese, I sit around going all night, and my son is always calling me out on me. Well, he calls me out on it as in he stares at me and goes like, "What's wrong with you?" Why are you like this? And I just say cheese. Like, that's the answer. And he's like, "Oh," and I just don't think that is I think that response by my body is saying, this is not a thing that's good for you.
Yeah.
And I need to
sure
listen.
That you're going to notice the difference. I'm pretty excited. Now, speaking of letting go, I, as many of you may know, am heavily reliant on the care of others. And for me to be able to do 100 hours or 25 hours this month of physical exercise is my goal. I'm currently hoping to figure out a way to be able to get into my pool and that, but that's something that there's several steps that go into adding care to the household. And that's something that I've had to let go of, is that I might not be able to get to that right now, but it's super important. So it's not something that I'm letting go of forever. It's just something that I acknowledge as a part of my list that I'm not able to get to, and I'm not going to stress myself out over it. I'm just going to allow myself to focus elsewhere and let it go for now. It's just a battle that I'm not fighting in the moment. It's such a key thing to be able to do, to be able to just, once you realize that something is causing you so much stress and it's not something that you can do something about, just set it down and focus forward on the number one topic at hand. So I mean, that's a valuable lesson to me, D-Rex. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Thank you very much for giving us another inspirational topic of conversation for the Get Busy Living podcast.
I don't know if people know this, but oftentimes it's the day of the podcast and we just call each other up on the phone and say, "What are we talking about?"
Yeah.
And today it was like both of us were talking about, falling behind on this, falling behind on that. And it was pretty obvious we needed to chat this out. So we were happy that all of you were here with us, chatting it out with us. But I mean, I guess the thing to remember for 2023, if you come away with anything from this podcast, is get your to-do list happening. And don't be hard on yourself, like there's no good that comes from being hard on yourself in any way. Just keep moving forward, positive movement, positive attitude, inspired action.
I'm looking forward to the chronology that's going to happen from us capturing our lives as we grow, because that's exactly what's happening. Although at this point,
Mhm.
when I finally decided to go forward with this podcast, I felt I got to a place that I was a good starting point. But by no means have I arrived. It's not like I have a major studio and I have a major production team. I've got me and one of my favorite people going at it once a week. So when you start to look at where we started with back in September and where we are now, we're winning it at this point. But as we move forward and that priority list that we're working on and those other things that are also super prominent, like for you, obviously your professional life, your bread and butter, and also I have mine. But as time moves on and we build the behind the scenes stuff with this podcast, and we do the nonprofit stuff, and I grow more and learn more with the consultant that I'm doing, and as that grows, we're going to be able to look at this podcast and see the stages, and it's like, man, look, we were getting busy living all along, knocking out little things along the way, and being able to put time aside for ourselves once a month to give ourselves a reward for all the hard work that we put in. So looking forward to seeing you in 4 weeks? 4 weeks from
And
today when we
I don't even
celebrate your
think,
birthday?
not even 4 weeks, not even 4 weeks. So we better get busy on planning this thing and put it on a to-do list, I guess.
So 1 week will be the 19th. 2 weeks will be the 26th. 3 weeks will be, 4 weeks from today will be your birthday.
We better figure it out. No better way to ring in 46.
46. I'm 21. I turn 21 next month. I can't wait to find out.
Dude, you are 1 month younger than me. Don't even start.
Hey, man.
All right.
Don't be putting me on blast. D-Rex, thank you for coming back once again. It was so lonely when I had to go without you. So I appreciate you. I appreciate all of you guys coming and tuning into the Get Busy Living podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Please, always remember, we're all in this together. No matter the weather, whether sunshine or rain, there's no joy without pain. Always remember, we're all in this together. Can I get a hell yeah?
Hell yeah.
All right.
But you gotta believe me, ain't nothing